Hi, welcome to my Compscore3 tutorial. In this lesson we're going to look at how to create and run a bridge duplicate session. What we see here is the Compscore3 initial screen. To start a new bridge session, you click on New, and that will load the new session or event form. There's a number of different sorts of events that you can run with this program, but for your basic club duplicate session, you click on New Session. The session setup form is divided into three sections. The top section is the session details, and most of the time these settings will be pre-populated with the correct information. Working through it, the date, the BridgeMate section letter, the scoring method, a name for the session, a deal file if you have one for pre-dealt boards, an optional director's name, master point colour, master point weighting, any additional weighting. The second section is the movement details. This is where you tell the bridge mates what sort of movement is being run. There's three different kinds of movements: Mitchell, Howell and single session teams. The most common one you'll use in the club is Mitchell movements. We need to tell the BridgeMate system the structure of the movement. There's a number of boxes to fill in here. The number of tables playing, the highest board number in the set, the number of rounds we're playing, the boards per round, and of course I made a mistake there, whether or not there's a half table, and if there is it a north-south or east-west sit-out, and if so, what's the missing pair number. Once we have those details completed, the movement drop-down then offers all the different sorts of movements that would suit that particular configuration. In this case, we're going to choose straight Mitchell with sit-outs. When we're happy with that, we click on Apply. A dialog box will appear asking us to look at the movement details to make sure we have entered what we meant to enter. It's much easier to make a change here now than once you start the session. We'll say yes. Once the session setup form has been completed and accepted, you're presented with the session management form. If you have more sections to add, if you're running a section A and a section B, you click on Add Section and repeat the process for section B. Otherwise, we're ready to launch the BridgeMates and we click on Launch. This launches the BridgeMate system, appends the tables, ready for the players to put in their details. The players can now launch the BridgeMates and put in their details and then start playing the boards. At some convenient time, once the players have started to play, the directors can come to the program, click on the Names tab and import all the names from the BridgeMates by clicking Import Names. That will check the BridgeMates, bring the names across, and the director can just cast their eye down the list of names for North, South and East, West to make sure there's no missing names or clear errors. The names imported will then appear in the names grid. If you find any errors that have been made, the best thing to do is to go back to the table and ask the players to enter the correct names, and you can then click Import Names a second time after that's been fixed up. Nothing more needs to be done until the end of the session when everybody has played their last boards. When you're ready to score up, click on the Results tab and click on Import. That will import all the results from the BridgeMates. This is what I prepared earlier. You have the ability here to add, edit or delete results. If, for example, a player tells you they put the wrong number of tricks and a contract, highlight the row, click on Edit and change the number of tricks or whatever other details need to be changed and click Apply. Once we're happy with the imported results, we click on the Web Reports and Web tab. This presents us with the ability to look at the final results and also to make any website files that need to be made. Clicking the Quick Finalise button will print the results, make any web export files and finalise the session. However, you can do those individual steps by clicking the various buttons. Clicking on Results will print the results. Clicking on Web Export will make whatever web export file has been requested. And there's various other options as well. Let's have a look at some other more complicated parts of the program. When you import the names, if you need to make a change to a name, you can go to the room and ask the players to fix up the details in the BridgeMate, but you're also able to change the name in Compscore as well. Click on the names, then the Edit button. This brings up a screen allowing you to edit the names of either of the players here, and the black buttons here allow you to search your list of players to find the correct name. Once we're happy, click on Apply, and that change will be going through. Don't forget you can display the North-South field or the East-West field. If you've made a change to the names in this screen here, it might be good to send that change back to the room so that the BridgeMate names are correct. All you need to do then is to click on Send Back, and that will update the BridgeMates with the full list of names, including your edits. There are some useful options back on the Setup tab. The first thing to look at is if we need to make a change to the movement. What happens, for example, if you set the movement up, launch the BridgeMates, but now realise that a late player has walked into the door? We can still make the change we need to by clicking on Edit Setup. You'll remember when we set this movement up that we had 10.5 tables. We had a half table on table 11 with a 3-board sit out. Our late pair is going to fill that half table. So what we need to do is to make any changes, we have to record the new movement by changing the half table situation to no half table. The missing pair number disappears, and the movement drop down will be populated with a whole different set of options that can apply to this new configuration. In this case, we're going to change our movement to a straight Mitchell. When we're happy with this change, we click on Apply. We are given the usual dialog to confirm the change is correct, and when we say yes, another dialog comes up and we need to confirm a few details to put the change through. The first question is, does the change affect the movement? Drop down gives us the choice of yes or no. Now, of course, filling a half table does affect the movement, so we'll say yes. We're then asked, have you launched the BridgeMates? Yes, we have. And we need to tell the system from what point forward we need to change the movement. If none of the tables have put any results in yet, we can make the change effective from round 1, and that will change the whole movement from the start. If, however, some tables have already put in their results for the first round, we need to make the change applicable from round 2, and that means that the system will still accept the original movement offered at round 1 with the half table on table 11, but from round 2 onwards, the movement will reflect that there's now a full table at that number 11 table. Let's click on Apply and yes to confirm, and the movement has been changed. I'll just go through the process of setting up a Hal movement. That's a little bit different from setting up a Mitchell movement. The same process as before applies for Hals as well. We click on New Session. The parameters still apply at the top of the screen, but for the movement details, we need to click on Hal 1-win. Now, in this case, Hals are based on templates, and there's different templates for different numbers of tables and different numbers of rounds. So you don't need to tell it details like the number of tables and the number of rounds, because that's all built into the templates. The first thing we need to do is choose the template. Clicking on the search button lists all the templates provided with Compscore3. We can go through the list to look for the template we want. There's a lot of system provided templates, but you're also able to design your own templates to suit your different sorts of movements. Let's choose a 4-table howl. 4-table howl will consist of 7 rounds because there's 8 pairs, and we will normally run this as 4 boards per round, making it 28 boards altogether. In this case, we'll say there's no half table, and all we need to do then is to click apply, and that will launch the create the movement with that structure in place, and from this point forward the process is almost identical. We still click launch to launch the bridge mates, we still process the names and import the results. The one difference here is that on the names tab there's no differentiation between north, south and east, west, but in all other respects the howl movement is the same as the Mitchell. There's one very nice feature with howl movements. Back on the setup tab there's the ability to print movement reports. That lets us print table cards and player cards and initial seating charts based on the movement, and for 1 minute movements like howl movements that can be quite complicated for players when they're moving to different tables and changing seats throughout the movement. We can print this table cards for this movement, and that will be produce a card that can be put on each table, and that shows who's playing at that table, north, south and east, west, and what boards are expected. The north, south and east, west pair names will appear if you wait to import the names before you print these reports, these cards. Then of course there's one of these cards for each table. There's also the ability to produce player cards. It's the same data, but in this way you actually give one slip to each pair. So rather than having the movement information on the table, you give a copy to each pair and they know where they're meant to be, who they're playing and what boards they need for each round. We can also print initial seating chart as well. One nice feature in Compscore3 is the ability to import a deal file into a particular session. This will work if you have pre-generated boards and have a PBN file or a BRI file that you can import. There's 2 ways you can import a deal file into a session. The first is when you set the session up. There is a provision for a deal file on the top of the screen. The other way is through the Advanced Functions, Deal Files tab. You can browse on your computer for a BRI, TXT or PBN file that contains those deals. When you've imported a deal file into a session, on the Results tab, a new button appears called Show Deal. And we click that button and that will show the deal for the board in question. That opens the door to a few extra benefits. Firstly, you are able to print hand records out from the Reports and Web tab. Secondly, you're able to set up the bridge mates in order to validate the player's entry of a lead card. And thirdly, there's an anomalies test we'll look at in a minute that soups up the sorts of anomaly tests that are run by looking at the individual cards as well. Let's look at the anomalies now. On the Results tab is the Anomalies button, and we can click that at any point and look for any anomalies that the program believes are in the system. It reports on things like contracts being played the same in both directions, contracts going off by a large number of tricks, and any contracts of 7 no trumps making. When you load the deal file into a session, it also checks deeper by looking at the contracts bid compared to the cards in the various hands, and it will report on any contracts by hands that appear not to have that particular suit. That's it for the basic introduction to running a session with Compscore3. There's a lot more on the program and a lot more. Our website address is altosoftbridge.com.au, and there's a page for resources listing a number of help topics for which there is a 2 or 3 page PDF, and there's also a forum for users. Users can ask questions, review other posts, and even answer other users' questions. Thanks for listening. I hope you got some benefit from this tutorial. We will be adding more tutorials over time.